What she saw made her blood run cold. Two men were standing by the riverbank, carrying a heavy sack. She recognized them immediately. One was Uncle Karim, her best friend, Bala's father's brother. The other was Uncle Sadiq, Karim's closest friend. They were struggling to lift the sack, which they then threw into the river. The splash echoed in silence, and Aisha saw a large stone tied to the sack. Aisha froze. She realized what she had just witnessed. Her best friend, Bala, was missing, and now she knew why. He was in that sack. Fear gripped her heart, and she clutched the firewood tightly, unable to move. The men laughed as they watched the sack sink, their voices full of cruelty. "No one will ever find him," Uncle Karim said. "We have taken care of everything," Uncle Sadiq replied. Aisha bit her lip to stop herself from screaming. She ran back home, her mind racing. What could she do? Who could she tell? She feared the men might have seen her. Aisha was a lively and clever girl, known in her village for her bright smile and kind heart. She had gone into the forest that fateful day to gather firewood, a chore her stepmother often gave her. The forest was quiet, except for the rustling of the leaves and the chirping of the birds. Not until she bent to pick up a falling branch, she heard voices nearby. Then she saw what happened a few moments ago. When Aisha reached home, her stepmother was waiting for her. "Where have you been, you lazy girl?" she scolded. "Now go and cook soup outside. Your father is waiting for the soup." Aisha nodded, too shaken to respond. As she stirred the pot, she heard footsteps approaching. She looked up and saw Uncle Karim and Uncle Sadiq walking towards her. Her heart pounded in her chest. Did they know she had seen them? "Aisha, my dear," Uncle Karim said warmly. "How are you?" "Fine, Uncle," she replied, forcing a smile. "Good girl," Uncle Sadiq added. They walked past her and entered the house to speak with her father. Aisha's hands trembled as she continued cooking. Could her father be involved? The thought terrified her. The next morning at school, the head teacher, who was none other than the same Uncle Karim, addressed the students during the assembly. "My nephew Bala is missing," he announced, his voice filled with false concern. "If anyone knows where he is or has seen him, please inform the school immediately. His mother is heartbroken." Aisha felt sick. How could he stand there and pretend to care? As the students filed into their classrooms, she saw Bala's mother weeping by the school gate. Her cries were so pitiful that Aisha's heart ached. She wanted to comfort her, but didn't know how. That morning, the teacher gave the class a test. Aisha was one of the brightest students, but today she couldn't concentrate. Her mind was filled with fear and confusion. When the test results came back, she had failed. Her teacher, Miss Grace, was surprised. "Aisha, stay after school," she said gently. After the other student left, Miss Grace sat with Aisha. "What is wrong, my dear? This isn't like you." Aisha hesitated, tears welling up in her eyes. Finally, she whispered, "Miss Grace, I saw something terrible." "What did you see?" Miss Grace asked, her voice filled with concern. Slowly, Aisha told her everything about Uncle Karim, Uncle Sadiq, and the sack in the river. Miss Grace listened in silence, her face growing pale. The next day, Miss Grace decided to investigate. She watched Uncle Karim and Uncle Sadiq closely. Later that afternoon, she saw them walking together towards their office. Quietly, she followed them and hid behind the door. To her shock, She heard them discussing their crimes. First, we got rid of Bala's father. Now, Bala is gone too, Uncle Karim said. The mother will be the next, Uncle Sadiq replied. Then we will have all the wealth to ourselves. Miss Grace recorded their conversation on her phone. She knew she had to act quickly. Miss Grace went straight to the village king and told him everything. The king was furious and summoned everyone. The villagers, the accused men, Bala's mother, Miss Grace and Aisha. In the crowded village square, Aisha bravely recounted what she had seen. I was in the forest gathering firewood when I saw Uncle Karim and Uncle Sadiq throw a sack into the river. They didn't see me, but I saw them. The men denied it at first, but when Miss Grace played the recording, they couldn't lie anymore. They confessed, revealing that Aisha's father had helped them poison Bala's father. Aisha was devastated. Her own father was part of this evil plan. The king sentenced all the men to life in prison. The king took pity on Aisha and adopted her. She moved into the royal palace and was treated like a princess. Though she missed her old life, she was grateful to be safe. She grew up to be a wise and courageous young woman, admired by everyone in the village. Moral of the story: never hide the truth, no matter how scared you are. It takes courage to stand up for what is right, but justice will always prevail in the end. And also, be careful who you share your secret with.